Hey guys, what's up? It is Wednesday. Oh wait, it's Thursday. I am sorry I missed my deadline yesterday, but better late than never. I'm coming at you today. We're going to finish up talking about hinges. I know, big surprise, still talking about hinges, but I'm going to show you today how they incorporate into your deadlift, into your squat, into your lunge. The hinge pattern is the initial movement that you do in all those exercises, which is why I spent all month talking about hinges, because I want you to be able to feel them, know them, be aware of them, so that when you do basic movements like the deadlift, like the squat, like the lunge, that you know that you're doing that first part of that movement correctly, and then you can have a better understanding of the exercise. So let me first go over the first three videos real quickly. So in the first video, we talked about the basics of the hinge. We talked about a good morning, which is the easiest way it translates. In the good morning, you want to hinge from the hips and not from your back. You want to make sure it's a posterior chain exercise, meaning that you want to load your hamstrings and glutes. And that when you do the movement, that you're really starting to feel it and incorporate that means of awareness, not just copy it, but feel it. Get that tension in the hamstrings. That's that stretch. Know that you've reached that point when you feel that tension, and then be able to contract from those same areas to get back to your standing position. In the second video, we talked about ways to regress that basic good morning. You can, if you want to understand how to keep your center of balance back, you can put a weight behind your butt, and you can do it on your knees, driving your hips back and coming forward, understanding where the hinge originates from, keeping your back straight. Then you can also put a PVC pipe or stick behind your back. That makes you it gives you a tactile feel of the movement, so you feel that stick from your head, mid back to your pelvis, and you know when you do the movement if your back is moving or not. We want to make sure that it's not. Thirdly, we need to make sure that our core is turned on. So in the third video, we talked about how does the core keep the back safe in the hinge. And by doing anti-extension work, meaning we're doing our dead bug and our bird dog, we're able to really understand how do I want to tense that middle section, that corset part of my body, to keep my spine safe so I'm not doing any damage or moving excessively from the hips up. Alright, those are the first three videos. If you haven't watched them, please do. They're in much more detail about all that stuff, and you can really understand how that applies to today. So I'm going to go over the deadlift, the squat, and lunge, but I'm not going to go over them in detail. I'm just going to go over the hinge portion of them. So if you have more questions on that, feel free to ask. In a later date, I probably will go in more detail on each of these exercises, but today I'm just showing the hinge portion. Alright, so the way that the hinge translates to an exercise that we do at the gym the best is in a deadlift. A deadlift is kicking a weight off of the floor. Basically, it's the same exact pattern as the hinge. You don't even change it out one bit. You do your good morning. So knees are bent, I drive my hips back, load my hamstrings and glutes, keep my core on tight, making sure that I'm not extending my spine, I'm not also rounding my spine. That all stays in alignment, and I drive my hips forward and stand back on up. This is my hinge. Now all I do to do a deadlift is I do that same movement to pick a weight off the ground. Drive my hips back, keep my back straight, get over that weight. Again, hips are back, loading the posterior chain. I will then contract my hamstrings and glutes, not extend my back to get the weight on up. So really tense, feel that stretch, feel that tension, and then be able to contract from that same area to get up. This is a deadlift. Looks just like a hinge. Make sure you do your hinges correctly before you start doing your deadlifts, because it's the same exact thing. If you cannot get down to that weight on the floor without rounding, then you probably need to generate more mobility, or you need to bring the weight or the ground closer to you, which means putting the weight on a box or putting it on a step. Those are easy ways to regress the deadlift so that you can do it without injuring yourself. Next, you want to do, the hinge applies to a squat. So, I will show you here. When I do my squat, the first movement has to be the hinge. I have to drive my hips back because I want to load the posterior side of my body. I do not want to bend my knees first and get low into my squat. As you can see, when I do that, my center of balance is over my knees and not over my hips, and then the squat is not correct. I need to hinge first, drive down into that squat so my center of balance is back in that squat. So get that idea. How do I hinge so I can initiate that squat correctly so I'm loading the proper muscles? And then thirdly, in the lunge, I'm going to do a drop back lunge. When I do it, I want to make sure I'm hinging my hip back first. So I'm loading and posteriorly. I'm not driving into that front of that knee. That's just going to cause knee problems. It's going to over time deteriorate. So we want to load the center, drive our hip back, come back into that lunge. I still want the majority of weight over my front foot. As I come up, I am hinging over my knee to return the center. So I hinge, drop back into that lunge. As I come up, majority of weight's in my front foot, hinge over my front leg to stand back up. So I'm getting majority of that work on that posterior side. Again, we're thinking hamstring and glute. You're still going to get quad work, which is what we want. We don't want to avoid it, but we want to make sure we're recruiting the whole entire area, returning as close as we can to center to recruit that full muscle mass. All right, guys, that's how you apply the hinge to those 3 very basic movements you see every day at the gym. Please start to be aware of that and be able to utilize that so that you can incorporate it into those movements. And then also make sure that you're using the hinge every day, when you pick up anything off the ground, whether it's grocery bags, whether you're tying your shoes, whether you're doing the dishes, whether you're brushing your teeth and you're going to rinse out your mouth, you're making sure that I'm hinging from my hips, not from my back. I'm not rounding my spine as I do that. And then you can really, the hinge becomes almost a lifestyle change. And so we're doing that correctly, and then it's really easy to incorporate into those exercises. All right, guys, thank you. Any questions, please let me know. And I will see you guys next week, and we'll maybe not talk about hinges, or just a little bit. I don't know. All right, guys.